Hello, welcome to PODnas. This is a sports show with a Cajun flair. I'm Daniel Hawks. That's Jared Roser. And today we are going to go over the additions to the LSU transfer portal that have happened in the recent days. Also, big weekend of action in the Dome with all the state championships for Louisiana going down. And we are going to announce the winner of plays of the week for last week and show you the plays of the week for this week. It's a packed show. Jarrett, how are you doing?
Good, man. High school football season now in the books, and so that's bittersweet. I've been excited to catch my breath a little bit, get a little bit more rest the last couple of days, but obviously sad that we don't have more games ahead of this Friday.
Yeah, well, let's just jump right into it. LSU has now signed 7 players in the transfer portal after the transfer portal opened. They get a lot of help in places where they need a lot of help. They get a lot of help in defense. They also pick up a wide receiver. They pick up a backup quarterback. Let's break it down a little bit. Why don't you tell the people what's been going on?
Sure. So, I mean, really a flurry just heading into the weekend and then stretching through today as we record this on Monday. And the pace that they've started to hit, I mean, you wouldn't be surprised if by the time we're done recording, if they add another, because they've picked up 7 in these past few days. And I think what stands out, you mentioned positions of need that they've been able to address. They've also gotten a lot of guys from Power 4 teams, a lot of guys with experience from Power 4 conferences, including several from the SEC. And so I guess just kind of rattling down the list: Oklahoma tight end Bauer Sharp, Florida defensive back Jakeem Jackson, Florida defensive end outside linebacker edge rusher guy Jack Pyburn, who was one of the Monday announcements, Nebraska defensive end Jamari Butler, Kentucky wide receiver Barrion Brown, Mississippi State young, I mean, he was just a true freshman this year, quarterback Michael Van Buren. And then, I mean, shortly before we hopped on here, you had the Mansour Delane, the versatile defensive back from Virginia Tech, announced as the latest. And so after a few days of kind of waiting and hosting some guys down in Baton Rouge, the Tigers have started striking and now have 7, I think, largely plug and play guys, other than obviously Van Buren will be coming to this year be a backup for Garrett Nussmeier, who announced last Tuesday or Wednesday he's coming back. And so this team's getting a lot better in a hurry in terms of some notable talent and some talent with experience in some big settings.
So what does that mean for this LSU team on the field next year?
We talked about coming out of signing day that I thought that the high school group they had signed had positioned them to be really competitive if they could finish the job during this transfer portal window. And going into the portal window, I had coaches over there tell me that they were looking for more than a few guys. And obviously they wanted to make sure to hit on some impact guys. And I think so far they've hit on 7 impact guys. I don't think they're done by any stretch, but these are all guys that I do think move them that much closer to looking like a potential playoff team. And obviously you want to see how they continue to attack these, this week and these next couple of weeks, and, potentially even some late additions in the spring. And obviously you have to go through an off season of work and see how things play out on the field and whatnot, but a lot of positive signs closing out the 2024 calendar year so far. I mean, they are putting their money quite literally in a lot of ways where their mouth was in terms of attacking the transfer portal aggressively. And they're getting guys that are coming from big programs. They're getting guys who were recruited in the portal by other big programs. And the ability to get those guys to commit to wanting to come to Baton Rouge shows the excitement about what can be accomplished in Baton Rouge for some of these guys, because a lot of these guys are trying to position themselves to get to the league, and they're not trying to go somewhere just because of a paycheck and sit and not be productive. They expect this to be a place where they can be productive for a team playing at a high level in some big showcase games and set themselves up to go on to the NFL. And at the same time, from a recruiting standpoint, as much as folks have worried about where LSU stands from a pocketbooks, angle to all of this, they are winning out in some battles with some other big programs to get these guys. And so I think a lot of really, big notes of encouragement to take from this all around.
Now, so Bill Belichick obviously goes to UNC this week, and those sort of the big national news. He has literally hired a GM for his program there. Is that something that does LSU have that kind of position on the books? Is that something that if they don't, that they are all right? Because I feel like you're going to have to do that with this NIL and transfer portal, the way it is. You're going to need someone that literally does what NFL teams do to kind of and more of and more so, I would say, even than NFL teams, because you're not signing a contract that's going to keep you there for 2 or 3 years. You can literally bounce around every year. It's kind of like the Wild West right now.
Yeah, LSU's got a guy, Austin Thomas, who's been around the program for a long time. I mean, was with the program, left for other opportunities for a few years there, and has been back. And he has that role, kind of overseeing the big picture, and obviously his role in recent years has developed quite a bit with the development of
Right.
college football recruiting as well, where beyond just, being that guy that has kind of the vision for the program as a whole, and putting together that roster and a lot of other aspects that he has to oversee and manage, and allow Brian Kelly, or in the past previous coaches, to allow them to focus more on football aspects. I think now he and Brian Kelly have to look at this program in much more of a way that looks similar to a lot of NFL front offices, in terms of managing not just what that roster makeup looks like, but also, the college version of salary at this point. We'll get to revenue sharing, but right now figuring out how much they can allot to certain guys, certain positions, even from knowing what kind of NIL support there is from the outside companies, and the amount that has to happen behind the scenes to just keep track of all of this, where the roster is fluid every single year, and really in a lot of ways year round, is pretty crazy. And so, you know, I'm not going to say I don't envy them. They're well compensated for their
Yeah.
jobs. Austin and BK are, but they have really tall tasks and a lot of moving pieces that they have to keep track of at all times.
And we are going to keep you up to date on all those moving pieces. So don't you worry your little heads. We're going to let you know when people are coming, people are going. That's what we do here at Podnas. It was a big weekend in the Dome this weekend. A lot of really big teams with some really big rings. Uh, State championships, they are in the books. Let's run down kind of a list of these winners who took home some trophies over the weekend, some state champ trophies.
Yeah, they'll have to wait to get size for those really big rings, but they definitely take some trophies back to their
Yeah.
respective schools around the state. And I guess running down, starting from the small schools and working the way up, 8 state champions these days in Louisiana, which, credit to all those teams. I still think it's probably too many divisions for a state Louisiana size, but some really deserving state champions that bring home that hardware this year. And you have Vermilion Catholic out there in Abbeville, wins its first since 2013. Jonathan Dartez, their senior quarterback, an undersized guy, but just tough as nails, ends up with a state championship at all levels record of 47 carries in that game to help.
Wow.
Yeah. To help
Wow.
lift his Eagles to their first state championship since 2013. They get the best of a rematch with the Ouachita Christian Eagles from 2022. And so complete an undefeated season for the Vermilion Catholic Eagles. On the non-select side in that Division IV group, South Plaquemine gets its first state championship since going back-to-back in 07-08. Really cool for that program down there. Basically in the toe of the boot out there in the Gulf under a guy that was a member of those back-to-back state championships as a player, and Lyle Feet went on and played at Louisiana Tech and has been back there coaching at his alma mater, and got those kids and that community believing, and then made a dream come true to get
That's
back
great.
to this point and winning their first in 16 years. In the Division III games, the Catholic New Iberia Panthers win their first in 17, thrilling fashion. They have a huge middle of the game, build a big lead. Dunham comes firing back against them, and it takes a huge play, which when we get to top plays, we'll have a chance to look at. A huge play on the goal line to come up with an interception and win that one 31-28. On the non-select side, a back and forth game between Sterlington and St. James, a rematch of a semifinal last year. Sterlington gets the win. It becomes their first state championship since 2021. In Division II, On the non-select side, Cecilia was back in the Dome last year for the first time since 1995 when they won a state championship, but came up short. Heartbreaker against a rival in Opelousas. They made it back this year as a number 18 seed. Road dogs all the way through the playoffs. This 337 school had to hit the road out to the 985, to the 225, to the 318, and then went and got their win in the 504 to cap it all off. They had to come back late with some thrilling plays that I wish we could have had 5 to 10 of just the Cecilia plays or plays from that Division II non-select game to come back and beat Franklinton. On the select side, Archbishop Shaw, legendary coach Hank Tierney. Things didn't look great for them early on against Edie White and Coach Kyle Lassane, but the Eagles, led by a senior trio, as well as some key plays from some juniors and sophomores along the way. But the senior trio of a couple of Michigan signees in Jasper Parker, Jacob Washington, and the senior quarterback Mason Wilson, they're able to come back, have some huge plays in all 3 phases, and win that one, the first for those Eagles since 1987. Huge for those guys to end that drought and bring a trophy back to the West Bank. And then on Saturday, finishing it up with Division I games. The select game was the first of the day. And Edna Carr came out, its first state championship appearance since 2020, first state championship in the actual Dome since 2019 because of that COVID year in 2020. And they came out, pick 6 on the second play from scrimmage, then get the ball back, force a punt, long touchdown, and just kept on rolling off to a 53-8 win. Just absolutely dominant for the Cougars to get back where they feel like they belong. They'd won 4 straight state championships leading up to that 2019 one, and then hadn't been back in the Dome at all the past few years, but left no doubt. Coach Bryce Brown said that one of their goals this week was to have a running clock in the state championship game, which is bold, but the Cougars accomplished that and won that game by the largest margin a Class 5A or a Division I game has ever been won, 45 points. And then, right after that, Central Baton Rouge comes out and jumps on reigning D1 non-select champion Ruston, a team that was thought to be the heavy favorite. One of their foes up in the north half of the state, Neville, had said this week that Ruston was going to beat the brakes off of Central, who had knocked out Neville last week. And so a lot of chatter from folks not even involved in the game. And lo and behold, these underdog Central Wildcats back in a state championship game for the first time since 1966.
Wow.
Come out and shut out the reigning champions 42-0, held them to 90 total yards of offense, and we're just rolling from start to finish. They end up also with a running clock late. And so it ended up kind of anticlimactically in terms of the drama with the 2 Division I games, but just, monster performances by Edna Carr and Central to close out the season.
Hey, congratulations to all those state champions. It's a big day. I don't know what it's like to win a state championship. Actually, yes, I do. No, never mind. I was there. I was there for some basketball ships at U High. I synced a couple. Like I said, congratulations. It's a long season. Jared, I'm glad you actually have maybe some time to rest and relax now. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're just going to keep on going, but at least you don't have to live, breathe, and eat football for the next couple months. You can kind of take a little break there. We're not going to take a break though. We're going to keep going. We've got our top plays of the week, but first off, before we get there, got to shout out last week's winner, Dylan Compton, Kane Milligan, Kyle Johnson, and Amari Perry over at Bunkie with the double reverse pass that was just so beautiful. The camera guy couldn't even keep up with it. Congrats to you guys. They were the play of the week winner from last week, but let's get into some new ones. Let's get into that new.
Yep. Some of these plays from some of those state champions we just mentioned, including the game-winning or game-sealing interception I mentioned by Catholic New Iberia, sophomore Karan Eugene Dunham down here on the goal line. Chance to go ahead on a 4th down play near the goal line. Elijah Haven throws it, and here comes Karan out of nowhere, diving and snatching it. Young guy was
what a play.
Young guy was flying around the field all game, talking his noise at times, and ends up with one of the biggest plays of the game, of the season, of the weekend across the board. And so shout out to he and those Panthers. And that's the candidate number 1. Number 2 from that Central game, I thought the games by Central and Carr were dominated so aggressively that both of those warranted getting some inclusion in here. And a guy that we saw in the semifinals, DK Mays, who got his hand on that field goal up there at Neville and helped set up a game winner there early on in this one. So not as much, clutch time, but really kind of set the Wildcats off to the races early on. Rustin can't handle the ball early on the first quarter, puts it on the turf there, and here comes DK, big number 47.
Oh no!
Snatches it up cleanly before any of the Bearcats can, and he's rolling off to the end zone for a scoop and score to double an early lead by this Wildcats team that, again, was perceived to be a heavy underdog to the Ruston Bearcats, and instead they're putting Ruston in a deficit that they were not able to dig out of. Ruston wants to get out there and run the ball. Instead, DK puts them behind double digits there with a quick scoop and score, snatching that ball away. Carr was another game that it was tough to pick one. There were so many defensive plays. The pick six early by Aiden Hall. Great game all around by defensive tackle Richard Anderson, who's the Louisiana versus all y'all defensive player of the week. But in terms of just kind of a snapshot and looking at a play, this was one that'll probably get overlooked a little bit, but was a lot of fun to watch in the moment as junior quarterback John Johnson fires to Oliver Mitchell, the senior wide receiver, stops, squares up, and breaks down the Alexandria defensive back, puts his butt on the turf. Oliver, we'll give him another look at that. Oliver is a recent Tulane signee. Got brought down there near the goal line, sets up a 1-yard touchdown the next play. But
that's that kid. I feel so bad for him. He got up and fell down immediately again.
That's one that I think the Tulane fans, in addition to the Edna Carr fans, can get excited about to see some of that footwork in the open field by Oliver Mitchell. He'll be heading across the river and uptown for college here shortly. And wrapping up the play of the week candidates for the Superdome this week, another, a familiar name, familiar face, Diesel Solari, the Cecilia quarterback. They're down here late, have made some plays to put themselves in position right on the heels of Franklinton. Diesel drops back with that left arm, slings it to his fellow senior, Ellis Stewart.
Ooh. Oh.
Deflected for a second there initially. Ellis Stewart, by the way, number 8 there on the receiving end of this, was under the weather this week, so it was a little bit of his flu game legacy situation. Still had the focus to catch this off of the deflection.
Oh, man. Hot potato.
And that with a minute 17 left in this game, suddenly completed a comeback by the Bulldogs, where at one point they had seemed like their title hopes were about to come up short once again. Instead, several plays along the way. Shout out to one of their sophomores, I think 3 or 4 plays before that, Frankie Frank Jr., who snatches the ball away from a Franklinton running back and gives new life to that Cecilia comeback attempt, and then sets up that one by the 2 seniors there. And so that lifts them to the 35-32 state championship win, their first since 1995.
Yeah, we got a good crop of plays. We're going out with a bang. That's what we love to see. If you would like to vote for who was the top play of the week, it's super easy. All you have to do is go to our Instagram, PODnas_LA. Plays will be up there. We got a poll. Just click it, or get in the comments and say which one you liked best. All right, we're going to announce that at our show later on this week. We will have a show later on this week. But you can go on there, interact with us. We'd love to hear from you. You can also go to Louisiana versus all y'all Twitter, LA versus all y'all, and hit up the YouTube page, which you may be watching this on right now, but there's a bunch of good content that Jarrett's got up there for Louisiana versus all y'all, for LSU recruiting, for Louisiana sports in general. It is the place to be. I don't have much else. Do you got anything else for the people before we get out of here?
That's about it, man. Appreciate, now that high school season's over, folks that have been involved all football season long. We'll still obviously have some college bowl games, and they tell me the Saints are still playing, unfortunately. So we'll probably have a little bit more time to look at those guys.
Oh man,
has not been a great professional sports couple months here down in New Orleans, but
no, it hasn't.
But appreciate folks that have been involved. I mean, throughout the months of doing this, both in the season and really the months leading up to it, and looking forward to what's next.
Yeah, we can probably start to get into a little more Saints stuff now, I guess, if we have to. And maybe some Pelican stuff, I guess, if we have to.
Yeah.
It's been rough. It's been rough. But hey, if the people want it, we'll give it to them. That's what I always say. That's my motto. You know it. You've heard it every day that we talk. Is if the people want it, we'll give it to them.
So the better way to do this is when Mark Clements and I used to work at NOLA.com and were like essentially the Baton Rouge bureau. I told that we lived by the OJs, got to give the people what they want, and so we had a theme song and a GIF and all kinds of stuff of that nature to go with it.
Hey, I think we should start that next episode. We'll have it all up and running for you. I say that we may not, but bear with us. It's coming. A GIF, theme song. We're gonna have it all. Let's cue up that theme music. PODnas out.
Talking margin for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I've been comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it.